Okay, WWE Extreme Rules 2020, aka The Horror Show. It wrapped up, give or take, about half an hour or so ago. Kind of a mixed bag, really. There's some parts I really liked and some things I'm not too enthused about, or could have worked but didn't quite seem to follow through in the execution. Let's start things off with our kickoff show match. It's Kevin Owens versus Murphy. Not too much to say here. There's some good moments, like right off the bat, Murphy tried to go for a flying knee, but Owens dodged it, but Murphy eventually hit it. Owens hit a crossbody and hit a DDT. Owens hit a clothesline and attempted to send down, but Murphy got his knees up. Owens eventually fought back, hit a cannonball, but then Murphy came back, he had a meteor off the top rope, he had a V-trigger. At one point, Murphy had Owens set up for a superplex. Owens blocked it with a headbutt, knocking Murphy down, but then Murphy jumped up in an enziguri. It was actually a pretty nice moment. But then Owens came back, knocked Murphy off the top rope again, hit a moonsault, and then hit a superplex of his own, and then a super kick, a super kick, and then the stunner for the 3 count. Like I said, not a bad match, but just nothing too much to write home about there. I guess, I don't know what they're going to be doing with Kevin Owens after this, but, or anything going out of this. I mean, there are some intriguing questions to be raised here, but some things I'm not entirely sure about. Let's move on to the show proper. We opened up with the Tablesmash for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. New Day versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro. Right off the bat, the New Day came out with their entrance jackets, and I don't know if this was, I think one was intentional, but I'm not sure about the first one. Sorry, there's like a motorcycle or something going by. Like Big E took it and he threw it and it almost hit Corey Graves, and kind of in response, Kofi also launched his ring jacket at Corey Graves. Big E threw Nakamura. This was all 4 men in the ring. They basically said only one person had to go through a table to win the match in this case. Anyway, Big E threw Nakamura off the plexiglass boards, and then I think Kofi hit like a splash or something to follow through on that. Cesaro came back and tried to slam Kofi through a table, but Big E knocked it out of the way and speared Cesaro through the ropes, and Cesaro just barely missed a table that had been set up outside of the ring. Big E kind of got sandwiched between a couple of knee strikes on occasions. Nakamura hit a Kinshasa on Big E after a superplex. New Day then stacked 2 tables on top of each other, tried to do like a superplex and then like a doomsday device type maneuver, but they got broken up by Nakamura both times. Eventually Nakamura got up on the top rope, but Kofi got up there, tried to hit a flying head scissors. Cesaro interfered, and then Cesaro and Nakamura powerbombed Kofi through both tables to win the match. Really good match. Definitely very well paced. I think this is one where putting one person through the tables works a lot better than putting both opponents through the table, because sometimes that just gets really clunky. And again, sometimes when you're in the mid, like they even had this happen a couple of times where they set up tables and guys almost broke them on accident. So yeah, they did a really good job of telling the story here. I actually kind of like the idea of Nakamura and Cesaro winning. New Day's held the championship so many times, they didn't really need it. Maybe this will help pump some lifeblood in the SmackDown Tag Division. The prevailing rumor at one point, I don't know if this is still the case, but the idea was when Otis won the Money in the Bank briefcase that when Tucker came back from injury, Heavy Machinery would cash in. So I wonder if that's still the plan or not. I think it would make more sense for Heavy Machinery to be babyfaces and cash in on heels than to cash in on the babyface New Day. So, again, maybe there's something interesting that could come from that. Okay, our next match is the SmackDown Women's Championship match, Bayley versus Nikki Cross. Before the match, they showed a little backstage vignette with Nikki getting pumped up by Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. Sasha Banks accompanied Bayley to the ring, obviously. Right off the bat, Nikki drove Bayley into the corner and hit a quick neck breaker and went for a cover. Bayley kicked out. Nikki hit a tornado DDT. She had a crossbody off the ring apron, but then Sasha kind of distracted her and then enabled Bayley to throw her into throw Nikki into the plexiglass. Sorry. Bayley tangled Nikki up in the ring apron, but she actually got a pretty unique escape. She basically ducked down and crawled under the ring to the other side, and then tangled Bayley up in the ring apron. Nikki hit a death drop DDT. She hit a regal, basically kind of a ripcord into the regal cutter. Only got a 2 count on that. Bayley dropped Nikki off the top rope with a flying knee. She went for another move, but then Bayley kind of banged her head really hard against the ropes. Looked like she was out. Sasha distracted the ref, and it turns out that as Bayley was recuperating, Sasha slipped her ring with the big boss nameplate across the 3 fingers, and that as the ref was distracted, Bayley slugged Nikki with that ring plate for the 3 count and then pinned her for the 3 count. So overall, a really darn good match. Did a great job of telling the story. You know, even though it was kind of known that Bayley was probably going to win, it did briefly look like on a few occasions, hey, maybe they might pull something and pull a quick surprise, or you know, Nikki looked like a legit contender. And again, because Sasha interferes, you're not entirely sure if Nikki could have beaten Bayley. So I think it does a good job of setting that up and setting up plans for the future there. We'll see how that turns out, though. We'll get to that later. Okay, so before the next match, we had a little segment with the Firefly Funhouse, except now it's set up more like kind of like a old Svengoolie type horror host setup with Bray saying, "I'm now going to show you the most. You got to be prepared for the most horrifying thing you've ever seen." And they immediately cut to clips from the SmackDown Karaoke Showdown from a couple weeks ago. And it's like, no, not that most horrifying thing. You know, he talks more about the Straw match, says Strowman won't escape, and then begins kind of laughing a lot like Paul Bearer, the, "Oh, yes!" sort of. So it was kind of fun. Did a good job there. At this point, it was supposed to be the United States Championship match between MVP and Apollo Crews, but then the announcer said, well, Crews was injured either last week or a couple weeks ago on Raw when Lashley put him in the full Nelson. He has not been medically cleared, and so the match cannot take place. And at that point, MVP and Lashley came out. MVP called Lashley out saying, hey, you know, don't do that, you know, he might not be fully able to recover. And then immediately laughs because he's just joking. And then says, well, Crews couldn't face me, so by forfeit, I'm the champion. And he grabs the newly designed championship and leaves. Okay. I don't know what they're going to do with this exactly. Maybe, I guess obviously they're building something at SummerSlam. I mean, would it be a unification thing? Would they dare do like a ladder match? Would they, you know, again, if Crew, this just didn't make sense to get rid of this though. It's not like the show was really long. It was only about, you know, including the pre-show, it was 3 hours. It was about 3.5 hours. You know, would you know, even a 10 to 15 minute championship match done too much to it? It just, kind of came across very weird. Anyway, our next match is the eye for an eye match between Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins. They have to gouge out their opponent's eye. Right off the bat, Rollins came down. He was carrying a pair of pliers with him. He then waited as Rey's music came up. Again, it's the old guy is looking up the ramp when Rey is under the ring. He pops up the other side. He hits a head scissors, sends Rollins into the ring post. But Rollins comes back, hits a sling blade. Pulled out there was a toolbox that was under the ring. Rollins pulled out a rebar and attacked Rey with it. Rollins came back with a kendo stick. Rollins did a Falcon Arrow on the ring apron. Rollins threw Rey into... he threw Rey, and Rey slid. He went under the bottom rope, and he landed right on a table that had been set up outside the ring. Rollins tried to tie Mysterio to the rope. He fought out of it, hit a head scissors, which sent Rollins, so he hit his eye like off the corner of the announce table. Ray came back. He avoided being rammed up in a setup kendo stick, and he hit a frog splash. Ray hit a stomp. Or no, Ray avoided a stomp, hit a tornado DDT. At one point, Ray was up on Rollins' shoulders. Ray grabbed the kendo stick and basically pulled it back into Rollins' face, and then hit a head scissors, set him up for a 619, sorry. They fought the outside. Ray hit a stomp on the outside of the ring. He began to push Rollins towards the corner of the ring steps. He had Rollins' face almost up against the ring steps, but Rollins low-blowed him, fought out of that, hit a stomp on the outside of the ring. He then took Ray's head and began grinding it into the ring steps, and then the ref stopped and said, "Whoa, no, the eye is out, the eye is out." You didn't see it, it's all kind of off camera. You see like the back of Ray's head and going like that, and a lot of blood everywhere. And then Rollins was, he was so shocked and revolted that he turned around and started throwing up. Dominic came down, Ray got help to the back. Rollins stood there and looked on, just looking really upset and worried, like even he knew he went too far. And at this point, like the crowd was banging on the glass against him, and Rollins is looking kind of like a uneasy fear on his face as he kind of walks back up, like not knowing exactly where this is going. Obviously, this is being reported that this is an out to get Ray out of the company because his contract. He's been working without a deal. His contract expired months ago, but because of everything that's going on, he hasn't been. He can't just go and work the Indies, so he's just still working, and he hasn't been able to get out of Florida, so he's stuck kind of working with WWE. Reportedly, again, there seems to be a deal. There might be a deal. There might not be a deal. You hear everything in between, so I'm not entirely sure. But overall, the match did a good job setting up the story. Didn't know what to expect with the whole eye gouging aspect. I think they did what they could with the idea, outside of doing a really fake eye popping out gag, which probably would not have flown with anyone. So I think they did the best with what they could. The storytelling was good. The match had some great spots. So yeah, this was a really good match. Okay, so for our next match, they opened up with the vignette for the Wyatt-Strowman swamp fight, but that wasn't the next match. In fact, before that vignette, they had Sasha Banks come out and say, "Nope, it's the Women's Championship match, and it's in a couple of minutes." Then why did you play the Strowman vignette? Why did you play that vignette? I mean, they even played that vignette before the match when it actually happened, so yeah, that was just weird. Like I said, it's the WWE Women's Championship match between Asuka and Sasha Banks. Kairi Sane is accompanying Asuka again. Sasha, right off the bat, avoided a clothesline and hit a hair pull slam. Asuka landed a few kicks, but Sasha immediately started targeting Asuka's arms and hands, so she couldn't lock on the Asuka lock properly. And she stomped on Asuka's fingers. She started manipulating them and twisting them, kind of like Pete Dunne does. At one point, they did a move that they were in the middle of doing, and they cut to Bayley, and it's like, why did they do that? I missed what that was. But when they came back, Asuka had Sasha in a cross arm breaker. Asuka countered, they tried to do sort of the top rope into the arm drag maneuver, but Asuka countered that with a go to sleep knee move. She actually hit that twice. She hit another one on the ring apron later on in the match. Sasha hit her bridging double knee stomp. She hit another double knee after that. Asuka hit a spinning elbow that caught after dodging a clothesline. Asuka hit a code breaker off the second rope and only got a 2 count. Banks dodged a hip attack and then tried to do a German off the ring apron. Asuka blocked that. But Sasha fought out of that and power bombed Asuka off the plexiglass. And then locked on the bank statement, but Asuka managed to just get to the ropes in time. Asuka hit an elevated German suplex a couple of times. Sasha hit a back suplex and then hit a double knee in the corner and began selling a knee injury as this happened. It looked like it was, again, trying to distract the ref. Bayley tried to distract the ref, began brawling with Kairi Sane. As the schmaz started to break out, Asuka slipped the capsule in to do the mist, and when she sprayed the mist, she caught the ref instead. Then Bayley got in and hit Asuka in the back of the head with the belt, with, I believe, the Tag Team Championship belt. I may be wrong on that. And then she took off the ref's shirt and put it on, counter the 3 count, so Sasha wins for some reason, even though Bayley's not a ref. They're probably going to cook up some cockamamie excuse tomorrow night on Raw. I'm guessing they're going to say, oh, well, I just happened to conveniently fill out for a ref's license the night before, so I was technically allowed to do this. And like I said earlier, with the Nikki Cross thing, I wonder if maybe we're going to get like a 3-way ladder match or something where all the championships are on the line. And it's, you know, if you could pull them down, you know, the team can choose which championship they want to defend it on or something. Like maybe that, and then they'll have all the gold. I mean, I just kind of wonder what's going on here. Like, I guess I can get the idea of, and maybe doing a unification match, because the women's division is kind of depleted right now. Obviously, Becky Lynch is pregnant, so she's not there. Charlotte is injured, according to all reports. I'm not. At first, it seemed like it maybe wasn't severe, like she just needed kind of a break, and she, you know, rest up, you know, heal some wounds. But then there was another report that said actually it's a bit more serious, and that she may have ruptured a breast implant. So, yeah, that sounds painful. So yeah, she, you know, I mean, she needs surgery and a lot of time off. There's also talk that she's getting a TV show of some type. So, again, not entirely sure, but obviously Charlotte's not in the picture. Naomi just came back. I don't know if what that means entirely, but you could keep Nikki as a contender still. Yeah, obviously you could put Alexa Bliss in there and have the tag teams, and then, you know, Kairi Sane for the Kabuki Warriors, and then you could do something like that where maybe all the championships are on the line at the same time. I mean, it's a bit crazy, but it could be something entertaining. Okay, our next match is the WWE Championship match, Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler got to pick the stipulation for this match, and the stipulation he chose is Extreme Rules, but only for Dolph Ziggler. Drew has to abide by all the rules of a wrestling match. However, should he get DQ'd or counted out, the title can change hands. So, actually kind of a smart idea if you think about it, except, like, it seemed to be pretty good. At least on paper. Right off the bat, Ziggler tried to get a weapon, but McIntyre just decked him on the outside of the ring. He had a big belly-to-belly suplex on him, and then clotheslined him out of the ring. Ziggler then tossed McIntyre into the ring post and the plexiglass. At that point, he set up a table. McIntyre tried to suplex him on it, but then he realized, oh, I can't get disqualified, so he suplexed him on the outside. As this is happening, the ref is still counting to 10, but the countout only applies to McIntyre. Remember, Ziggler gets the Extreme Rules rub, so that if it hits 10, it's McIntyre who gets counted out, not Ziggler. So, again, kind of this well-thought-out plan. Ziggler low blows McIntyre. Ziggler sets up a chair in the ring. He hits McIntyre with several chairs. McIntyre kind of like stops himself at the top of the chair that had been set up in the ring, and McIntyre clops him so that McIntyre hurts his throat in the process. McIntyre comes back, hits an Alabama slam. He went for the Claymore, but Ziggler countered that with a chair to the knee. He hit a zigzag. He then hit a big elbow drop through the table, but McIntyre just barely beats the 10 count. Ziggler starts to snap. He's yelling. He comes back. He hits an Uranagi, a famouser, another zigzag, but he kicks out. McIntyre kicks out of it. Ziggler goes for the super kick, but McIntyre gets up and lands the Claymore to win the match. Hopefully that made sense at the end there. This was a really good match. It was really well done. I think it was Ziggler's best match probably since the Intercontinental Championship Iron Man match with Rollins. That was, like kind of the last one I think that was really that good. Again, I love the way I love the plan that he came up with, because it seemed like, again, this is a no-lose scenario. He really shouldn't, be able to lose. And of course, McIntyre manages to find a way. It makes McIntyre look strong. He's not kicking out of finishers at 1 in this case. Again, probably a real help to that. If I have one problem, it's the spot after Ziggler hit the elbow drop through the table. Like, it should have been like something funny. Like, I say something funny. Something like, maybe McIntyre like goads Ziggler, said, "Oh, you don't want to win this way. this is the chicken shit way. No one will respect you. And then again, try to play into Ziggler's ego so that he gets out and throws him back in the ring. Like, that probably would have worked a little bit better, but still, I think this was a really darn good match, probably the match of the night. And that leads us to our main event, the Wyatt family swamp match, Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt. Bray has gone back to his old cult leader persona for this match. This is not for the Universal Championship, and this was the big pre-taped segment. So basically, Wyatt's sitting in the chair at the Wyatt compound, waiting as Strowman pulls up in a truck. At that point, Bray Wyatt vanished. Strowman grabbed the chair that Wyatt was sitting on and threw it against a tree. At this point, he got jumped by people. No one's special. Like, obviously, it can't be Harper and Rowan because they're not in the company anymore. In fact, Harper is with a different company. But still, like I don't know if they're supposed to be lookalikes or what was going on there, but yeah. Strowman fought them off, but then he gets clocked behind by a shovel, and he turns around to reveal himself standing there with the black sheep mask on. He then gets hit with the shovel again, and when he wakes up, he's in this cabin, and he's chained to the chair, and Wyatt says, you can't hurt him. Wyatt says, you can't hurt me, I'm already dead. Success is temporary, and they won't always be there for you. You're going to turn humanity's infection, and it needs to be cured. But Braun says he won't go back to being Bray's puppet. At this point, Sister Abigail appears carrying a large snake, but then Braun shows up again and he's in front of a fire where other guys jump him again. There's one guy who I guess we're supposed to recognize, but I don't know who he was. He's sort of a biggish guy, almost as tall as Braun, and he gets kicked into the fire and set on fire. Braun laughs. But then Wyatt appears again, he gets jumped, they fight into the swamp. Wyatt kind of strangles Braun under the water, but Braun fights back, they fight back onto a deck, he kicks Wyatt into the water, Wyatt apparently vanishes. The copyright chyron comes up as if it's over, but then suddenly the Fiend pops out of the water, puts the mandible claw on Braun Strowman, drags him under the water. We then get a few minutes of dead silence, and then suddenly the Fiend pops up and begins laughing, and the laughter continues as it fades to black, but then you hear, "Let me in." Except it's not the Fiend, it's Braun Strowman's voice. And that's how the show ends. I think this one was a little overthought. I like a lot of this stuff, but this didn't have, like, the funny gotcha moments in it. Like, I guess you would say the guy getting kicked in the fire was probably the closest to that, but that just didn't have as much of an impact on me. It's like, again, had this been someone new, even somewhat slightly recognizable, it would have been big, but no, it's just a guy. Like maybe it could have been Miz and Morrison interfering. I mean, I don't know if it would have been exactly the same thing, but it would look kind of unique. Like, there was another point I missed, which was at one point, Braun's looking around and suddenly he hears Alexa Bliss talking and saying, "Remember, Braun, remember we were friends. Come back, come back." And they start flashing back to Braun and Alexa when they were in the mixed match challenge together. And like that was, again, like I would have maybe liked a little bit more of that, playing in more into the past. Like, obviously I don't know if they could bring Roman Reigns back for something like that, but you could see maybe something like that working. But yeah, because I wish they had done a little bit more. It wasn't quite as wild and freewheeling as I think it should have been. It just, it didn't quite hit that wannabe B-movie vibe that normally these things hit, and I think I've hammered the point home there, and that's kind of my thing for the show overall. Like, there were some good matches. The women's championship matches were good, except I did not like the ending of the Raw Women's Championship match. I just thought that was a little too convoluted. McIntyre Ziggler was good. The tag team match was good, but then again, there's a lot of other ones where it's like, the U.S. title match doesn't happen at all. Originally we were going to get Jeff Hardy and Sheamus again, but that got pushed to SmackDown. Big Show Randy Orton got pushed to Raw because they want to try to pop a rating. And I mean, I'm not saying those matches would have been great, but maybe even one of them could have kind of helped build the show out a little bit more. It kind of felt lacking and overthought, and it didn't quite seem to fulfill what little promise it kind of had. So the eye for the eye match too was actually pretty good, so I'll put that in that category. But yeah, again, I wasn't entirely jazzed by this show. I don't know if I can fully recommend it at all. I'm going to be giving Extreme Rules 2020 C. It was kind of middle of the road for me, sorry. It could have been a lot better. Yeah. Okay, so the next wrestling show is probably going to be SummerSlam. That's on August 23rd. Next video is going to be the random trade review on Gem and the Holograms. And maybe there'll be something else in between that. I'm not entirely sure. It wouldn't be necessarily a fun video, but like I said, so I don't know if I really want to make it or not. I don't want to get too far into it. It's not world shattering. It's just kind of a tough time this weekend, unfortunately. I don't want to get too far into it. So still though, we'll still have some fun things coming up. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/SleepyTimeForCat Productions, where you can help me expand my wrestling coverage to stuff beyond WWE, NXT, and the occasional AEW free show.